if you're fine during the day and the evening comes and you're like, what is happening? Why I can't stop eating? I want you to know it's not the willpower issue. Most of the time, it's one of those two reasons. You're physically hungry and you're emotionally hungry. Let me explain what I mean by that. Let's start with physical hunger, right? This is a pattern I see a lot with binge eating, emotional eating, overeating, especially with people who developed the fear to have food throughout the day. I was one of those people who was afraid to start eating because I didn't know if I will be able to stop or not. Because of that, I would delay eating the food to start with, and then I would push through whole day. I will try to be good, and in the end, I would starve myself till the end of the day, and then evening comes. And now I'm tired, my brain is done, I have this decision fatigue, I had a very stressful day, and I'm finally home. And I smell something like a pizza, or I see the snack, and my body goes, okay, it's enough. I've been very good all day. Let me eat now. And I start eating, and then I'm not able to stop. A lot of people think that me having that specific binge episode by end of the day because I smelled something, I saw something, and I started eating was because I had no willpower. I was thinking that too, but it's not true. What was happening is that throughout the day, I was so hungry that by end of the day, when I finally started eating something, I didn't notice when I got full. And it ended up being a whole binge episode where by end of it, I felt guilty, I felt ashamed, physically so full that it was impossible for me to stand up from the chair. But it all started because I was starving myself all day. A lot of people who binge are actually eating less than they think during the day. And we would all assume that if you're overweight, and if you binge, you must be overeating all day. Not always. Sometimes you're eating too little for most of the day. Then you're overeating in one sitting at night because you're genuinely depleted. And there's a biology piece there too. When you're really hungry, you feel fullness signal is delayed, right? You don't notice it right away. You notice it later. And at that later times, now you're already too full. If you start eating at night already starving, it can really feel like you can't stop because you're in a catch-up mode. That's the physical hunger, which happens to be one of the main reasons of overeating at night and inability to stop. Now let's talk about emotional hunger, which is the second biggest reason. Evenings are the time when everything you held throughout the day comes up. If you're stressed, you're angry, you're overwhelmed, you feel bored, you feel lonely, those things are piling up because throughout the day you were not addressing the emotion at all. You were at work, you were busy, there was a bunch of tasks you had to do. And now, when everything is calmed down, you are at home, you're at peace, they start to show up. And what happens is that if the stress was at 2 out of 10 level in the beginning of the day, now it's at 8 out of 10 because it piled up. And your brain has learned that food regulates emotions. Then food becomes your go-to tool. This is why I say that people eat their emotions up. That's what I used to do. Every time I wanted to feel the emotion or I wanted to avoid the emotion, I would eat food to deal with it, and I was eating my emotions up. That's my most used phrase, if I'm completely honest. I don't really know if it's a good thing or bad, but it is. I've eaten a whole cake by myself in the evening not because I was hungry, not because I even wanted the cake, but because I was trying to change how I felt. And that was not just about stress. For some people, it's loneliness. Evenings are quiet, you're alone. Food feels like comfort, it feels like connection. For some people, it can be boredom. You don't have anything else to do after the work, and you put on the TV show and start cooking because cooking takes 2 hours of your day, and you get to do something, and now food is already ready. You're not gonna waste it, you're gonna eat it, right? For some people, it's anger. Like, you couldn't show your anger whole day, and at night, now you feel relief because you regulated your emotion with food. So if the need is emotional, no amount of food will fix it because you're not physically hungry for food. You're hungry for different feeling. What you're doing with food is using it to change your emotional condition. And no matter what is the food, no matter what is the amount you eat, until the emotion is fulfilled, you will not be able to stop. That's the second biggest reason of overeating and inability to stop in the evening. Now, we already clarified what are the issues. Let's talk about how to fix it, right? First, physical hunger. How to fix it is to structure your eating. First, very simple thing you can do is schedule meal with reasonable gaps. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm just asking you to stop having the huge gaps between lunch and dinner. That's what I noticed is the most common thing. People have 7-8 hour gaps between them, and no surprise you're ending up overeating because you have been hungry for 8 hours. People get hungry after 4 hours from meal, right? It's too much time. For the example, if you're having breakfast around 9, you can schedule lunch for around 1:30. They have dinner around 6. The exact time doesn't really matter. What matters is to decrease the amount of gaps you're having. Have the 5-6 hours maximum between meals, and it will help you avoid inability to stop by end of the evening. If your work is very chaotic, I get it. I used to work shift works. Like, my work was 24 hours, and because of the patients, I couldn't just leave them and go have a lunch, right? In that case, what I was doing was to have some snacks with me. Something that wouldn't make me feel heavy, something that I can eat it right away, and it will help me not feel hungry as acutely as I was feeling in the moment. The snacks were changing. Sometimes it was peanuts, sometimes it was protein bar, sometimes fruit. I used to love fruit snacks because they have sugar, so sugar gives you energy right away, and I really needed the energy to not fall asleep, especially during the evening times, right? And if you do that consistently for 2 weeks, like schedule your meal, have the meal every single time around the same time, what you start noticing is that you will start getting hungry around that time now. You're also going to start learning the difference between physical and emotional hunger. Now let's talk about the emotional hunger, how to change it. First thing will be to name it. Name the emotion. Before you eat, every time you're hungry, and I know it feels like a lot of things. It feels like you will have to ask that question a lot of times in a day. In the beginning, you will have to, but those are the type of works you have to do if you are going through the recovery route. And it is definitely a change in the routine, but that change is worth it. For someone who has been on both sides of that bridge, that change is definitely worth it. I would really encourage you to give it a try. So let's go back to the topic. Name the emotion. Before you eat every single meal, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? If no emotion comes to your mind, that's fine. Continue and have your food. Most likely at that scenario you were physically hungry. If the specific emotion comes up, you will remember it in your head. Like, what am I feeling right now? Am I stressed? Not really. Am I bored? Yeah, most likely I'm bored. And what would be something I can do to stop feeling that? Like, what can I do to stop feeling bored? Well, I can take my dog on a walk. I can call my friend. I can do stretches or small exercise, or I can turn on the TV show I like and watch it. It will all help me with boredom, but those are my ways. My go-to way, actually, is dancing. I love dancing, like, especially if I'm angry and I know I'm angry. I'll turn on the heavy metal music and I will scream my lungs out. It works so well. Give it a try. Like, trust me on this one, give it a try. But what I'm trying to say with my example is to tell you that for every single emotion, you will have your own way. I can give you a bunch of options, but it will not help because you have to find your own. Like, when you are stressed, what makes you feel better? What makes me feel better is to call my friend and whine about it and tell them how stressful my day was. If I'm feeling bored, I will dance. You have to test out the options that might work for you. Maybe you would like to journal. Maybe you would like to read your comfort book. We all have our own ways, and by trial and error, you will find your own as well. And what will happen is that because you named your emotion, you know you're not physically hungry, because you did something else instead of food, you distracted yourself. In the end, what we do is distract ourselves with those activities, and you forgot about food. So not only the issue of not being able to stop eating resolved, you didn't even started eating because you were already distracted. And you broke the loop before it even started, which is a very good outcome. It's more difficult to stop eating in the process than it is to not start. After you do this task, if you're still hungry, go ahead and have food. In that scenario, most likely you are physically hungry. I can guarantee you that 90% of the time you will forget about food because you already distracted yourself. You're not feeling stressed anymore. You're not feeling bored anymore. So food lost its sparkle, which was to help you regulate your emotions. You already regulated them a different way, and there's no job for food left. So let's do a quick recap. If you can stop eating in the evenings, it's usually one of two things. You're either physically hungry or emotionally hungry. If you're physically hungry, you need to create more structure and create smaller gaps between meals. If you're emotionally hungry, you need to name the emotion and find a non-food way to regulate it. And if you want the support with this, I have a free Skool community where we talk about binge eating recovery and all the practical tools to reduce the food noise. Link will be in the description below. I would really love to see you there. This was all I had for you today, and I will be seeing you in the next one. Bye!